Hello, hello. Um, Welcome to another video to be featured on my Patreon channel. Today I want to show you one exercise that I came up with to practice open triads, open major triads that are featured on the diminished scale. So let me play it real quick for you, and then I'll come back and then explain what's going on. I messed up the ending here, but the beginning was clear enough. So what I'm doing here, I'm thinking an E7 chord, and to apply the diminished scale over that, you apply, so starting on E, it's half step, whole step, so E, F, G, A flat, B natural, C sharp, D, and E, right? People also call that scale the octatonic scale because it has 8 notes. Okay, the open, and then if you see, you can find many different sounds on that scale. It's a very peculiar sound, and you can find many major triads, which is kind of like an innocent sound, if you will. So for the ones that I'm exploring here, it's E major, and then what am I doing? I'm playing the B flat major triad, but on second inversion. So if the bass over F, that's the bass. That's the genesis of the whole thing. So E major, and then B flat major, and then G major triad, and then C sharp major triad, and then B flat major triad, and then E major triad, but over. Yeah, the first one is root position with the bass on the root, and the second one is with the root on the 5th. So now that I already explained, I'll try to play again. See if it makes more sense. Okay, so it's a nice sound, and you can use it for as if you're a saxophone player, you can play those notes one by one separately, not at the same time. If you're a piano player, you can play them as, or a guitar player, you can play those things as chords. And another thing that I think it's important to discuss as well, if you see my fingers here, we're moving a lot. So because I decided to do that just to explore. But let me also describe another an idea for practicing things horizontally versus vertically. And I'll explain how do I see that. Like, to me, so the way I'm playing right now, that's horizontally, right? I'm playing from here to here. So if I play this pattern that I just played horizontally, it's very easy to see. You can repeat the same shapes over and over again, which comes in handy. You can apply. Let me show that. So it's going to be a lot easier to see with my fingers and it's going to be the same sound. still a little rusty, but hope the idea came across. So now that's what I mean. Like I went all the way up here, and using only how many strings? The bottom 4 strings, right? So now what I mean by playing, that was the horizontal approach. Now what I mean by the vertical approach is exploring more the strings like this, you know, starting here and not going all the way here, but rather changing, like staying in the first position, for example. That's what I mean. So I'll play once again exactly the same pattern, but now instead of going all the way up here, I'm gonna switch I'm gonna change the strings, which means it's gonna change the fingerings as well. So check it out. I find it very much worthwhile practicing both ways, because horizontally it's easier to play faster at first, because the fingers repeat especially because it's a symmetrical scale, so lots of the shapes repeat themselves. But once you play changing the strings as well, instead of going all the way up when you get to B flat, so instead of playing the B flat here, if you play here, see exactly the same notes but in different places, you just you get to know your instrument better, you know, which you probably want. If you don't, you should. And I think that's it. So I'm gonna keep practicing this one, and because it's like closing thought here, because it's on the diminished scale, I'm applying this one over an E7 chord, right? As I said in the beginning. So let's go. And then you play the F diminished scale, if you will, or the E dominant diminished scale. Okay. So now, if you wanna, if you start that thing on the note E, you get those shapes that I showed you. Now there are only 3 other places to start, and then if you start on G, the shapes repeat, because the scale, like E diminished is the same, E or dominant diminished is the same thing as G dominant diminished, which is the same thing as B flat dominant diminished. So let me just show you starting on F now instead of starting on. Now I'm thinking of an A7 context. So in that scale, you can play the Jimi Hendrix, the sharp 9 or the flat 9, and you can add the 13. That's the one that really makes the sound of the dominant diminished. Now start thinking of F7 dominant diminished. Yeah, I think this one is it's a better example because with the open strings, with starting on E7, it might be a little tricky to see what's going on with the fingerings. And what it does here is like you're playing one triad. I said open triad, so I'm playing root 5 3. So it's you're alternating root position with second inversion. Root position, second inversion. Root position, second inversion. Root position, second inversion. Okay. So 1 5 3, then 5 3 1, 1 5 3, 5 3 1, 1 5 3, blah blah blah. Thank you. See you next time.